will you please call the roll?
Mr. Morton?
Present.
Mr. Stuchel?
Present.
Mr. Edwards?
Present.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Present.
Mr. Schuldmeyer?
Present.
Mr. Culbertson is absent. And Mr. Estep?
Present.
Let the record show 6 members are present, 1 member is absent. Council, what is your pleasure on the approval of the written minutes of the July 25th council meeting?
Mr. President,
Mr. Schultmeyer.
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Schultmeyer, seconded by Mr. Estep to approve the written minutes of the July 25th council meeting. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. Next on the agenda, we have to discuss ordinance number 19. If anyone would like to begin, and if
Mr.
not,
President,
Ms. Houseville.
like I reiterated last council meeting, it's not that I am trying to debacle this ordinance. I just totally think that it needs to be a little bit more polished. I do believe attendance for all city officials, council members, elected officials, and appointed positions should be included all in one ordinance. I think it was stated at the last meeting, if we're doing a third of our pay, how can we do a third of a pay of somebody that's making a lot more than we are? Which I totally get that. That's why I think that it should be a dollar amount per each thing. There is more to being a member of this administration, appointed or elected. There is more to being a council member than just showing up at 2 meetings a month. There are other meetings if each department has their meetings. There are other outside German luau's, 4th of July, just different things like that. Plus, council members are not just attending 2 meetings a month for our pay. I know when I worked at Walgreens, people came in there all the time to talk to me about stuff at city level. My phone is always on 24/7 if a resident so chooses to give me a call and express their concerns. My front door is always opened if a citizen considers stopping by my house and giving me a heads up or whatever the circumstances is. So for somebody to sit there and say that we deserve a third of our pay to be deducted for missing a meeting is, in my opinion, is not fair. You have people that are going to miss meetings because they're sick, because they're COVID, because they're in the hospital, because they do have a vacation planned, God forbid. And I think missing meetings I've been involved for roughly 18 years, and over 18 years, I believe I've missed 4 meetings. 1, my mom was in the hospital. 2, I was in the hospital. 3, I had COVID. And yes, the 4th time when an emergency meeting was called on a Monday night, I worked on Monday nights. So I just think that there needs to be some more consideration. That is why I'm not for this particular ordinance. Doesn't mean I'm not for an even Steven ordinance going across the board. And that is my 2 cents. Thank you. And, excuse me, Mr. President, one more thing. Just as somebody thinks that I just debacled this at the last council meeting, they are so sadly mistaken, because I did talk to Chris Schultmeyer at the one meeting, and I did get to read it, but I didn't get to read it thoroughly. And he said, that's okay, we're going to discuss it at the next committee of the whole. Well, then it wasn't discussed. And that is when I actually said something to you after that meeting, and you're like, it's okay, we can discuss it at the next, the second reading. And that is why I brought things up at the second reading. Just so that the residents get a clear picture of what is actually happening. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. President. Go ahead.
Mr. Mort?
Go ahead. So before I state my comments, I just want to make it very clear that, Patty, I don't want to use you by any means in any of these examples, and I want to really focus on this specific ordinance and not your performance by any means. I just want to preface that. I don't want any of this to come across as if you are the example here in some of these rebuttals. So first and foremost, I think the opposite. I think this could be more strict. However, that opinion that I hold that was clarified at the last meeting is not enough for me to vote no on this and strike it down altogether. I still think that this should be passed today. Some of the points that you brought up about how we can't apply the same cookie cutter solution to council as administration, I 100% agree with. That's why I think that an attendance policy for administration should be a different ordinance than this one, because our standards, the hours we work, the nature of our roles are so different. So I think that we can advance with this and then also reopen the conversation to have a separate ordinance to hold administration accountable to similar but not the same standards. Something else I want to emphasize is this is relating specifically to our standing council and committee of the whole meetings. It doesn't have to do with the events. It doesn't have to do with special council meetings. So this is not holding anybody accountable to have to go to those at risk of losing their pay. And correct me if I'm wrong. The purpose of this is to make sure that we are here so that business is not disrupted. Those events, even sometimes committee meetings that can be rescheduled, those are not upholding or stopping business as much as our council meetings and committee of the wholes. So that's why I see those as a completely separate conversation. I don't think they come into play here. So given that this is just addressing council meetings and it's just addressing council members, and I think that's how it should be, although I believe it should be more strict, I still think it is good enough right now to pass. And then personally, I would love to revisit this later to make it more strict. But I think we need to get something passed now. Thank you.
Mr. Estep?
I don't want to kick this poor dead horse any more than it's been kicked. I just wanted to reiterate that I said from the beginning it should be all for all elected and appointed officials to be consistent. As far as the dollar amount, if they said $50, it would be unfair to put a percentage in there. I think if you're going to do it across the board, dollar amount might be more equitable for everyone. But let's move on. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. With that, I'm just going to throw my 2 cents worth in just because I'm sitting here and I've been through this plenty of times. The reason that we're at council meetings and committee of the whole is to make the decisions. We're the ones, you guys are the ones, I shouldn't say me, you guys are the ones that have to pass the ordinances. You know, that's a discussion for another time, but anybody else down here, their input is needed at committee of the whole when we're getting the ordinances ready, but they don't necessarily they've never ever had to be at a meeting. You know, you can have a report, but at a committee of the whole, when ordinances are coming up, their input is valuable. Council meetings are a whole different thing. You know, as far as the residents, you're not voting on that. That's part of, you know, we can go back to 4 meetings a month, which nobody wants to do, but most of my life, we had 4 meetings, 2 committee of the wholes, 2 council meetings. It's not necessary, and that's why we changed it to just 1 and 1. But I just, as Connor said, this is a very good start. At least it gives you a guideline, but we'll just go from there. All right, reports of administrative officials. Mayor Stuchel.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Ms. Hausfeld, for volunteering for the luau for next year. We'll be very pleased when we have council there for the setup and tear down, so I'll be looking forward to that.
No offense, Mr. Mayor, but I didn't even get to go this year because my mother was sick and she would not get out of the house. If something is different next year, I will be glad to help you, like I've been to almost
I
all
know.
of your functions, and
I
you
know.
know I have been.
But we appreciate you joining the committee. Thank you. So again, I am forever grateful to our community for helping with another great event in the village of St. Bernard. It would not have been possible without our incredible recreation, service, police, and fire departments, our sponsors, our volunteers, our community organizations and nonprofits, and of course, all of our wonderful patrons who came out to support the 2024 St. Bernard German Luau. It keeps getting better each year, and we're committed to improving the experience for everyone, so thank you. Just as a reminder, the St. Bernard Community Yard Sale is being held this weekend. Mark your calendars for, again, the St. Bernard Community Yard Sale being held Saturday, August 10th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. In case of inclement weather, the rain date will be Sunday, August 11th from 8 to 1. Check social media pages for the weather reports, of course, if it's canceled, and you're welcome to participate even if you didn't sign up. You'll find a list of participating addresses at City Hall, the local social media pages, and then also in today's new digital village newsletter. And thank you to Shelley Batch for organizing this event. Lastly, this may seem repetitive, but I'm just going to reading the same thing what I'm asking for. Lastly, the Village of St. Bernard will be entering into a joint agreement between the Board of County Commissioners, Hamilton County, Ohio, and the Village of St. Bernard to administer a community revitalization grant award for property development. The Village of St. Bernard was awarded a $200,000 grant, and this project is for the continuation of the redevelopment of the former St. Bernard Shopping Center on Vine Street in the heart of the business district. Funding helps cover the cost of property acquisition to allow for free and clear ownership of 4901 Vine Street. This acquisition will actually ensure the progression and completion of the critical community development, a project that will add density, encourage economic growth, and be a catalyst for future development. I am asking for an ordinance to be placed on the table for an agreement between the Board of Hamilton County Commissioners and the village, and also an appropriation ordinance for the $200,000, as this is a reimbursement grant. And that concludes my report, and welcome to entertain any discussion if need be.
Do I have a motion to put those two ordinances on the table, one for the grant and the other for appropriating?
Mr. President,
Mr. Schulmeyer.
I'll make a motion that we put both ordinances on the table.
Seconded.
Motion by Mr. Schulmeyer, seconded by Mr. Morton to place two ordinances on the table, one for the Hamilton County grant and the other for additional or appropriation ordinance. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. Thank you, Mayor. Is there a report from the auditor? Nothing. Law Director, Ms. Van Valkenburg.
Thank you. I've been working on the Airbnb short-term rentals ordinance and also, or changes, and also working on the ordinance for vacant properties. And we're going to be discussing those at the next Laws, Contracts, and Claims Committee, which I believe is the 20th of August. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Safety and Service Director, Mr. Wordman.
Thank you. Excuse me. I did want to take a moment to recognize Don Middendorf in the Service Department again this meeting, and I promise I won't do this every meeting, but I did have a citizen stop me and complimented Don and the Service Department employees for a sidewalk repair that was made in front of their house. They indicated that it was done quickly and professionally, so I did want to make public comment about that. I also wanted to recognize the work of the police department, and in particular investigator Keith Ingram, for finding the graffiti artist at the face of the wall at the end of Clay Street and obtaining restitution for the village. The graffiti's now been removed, and we've been reimbursed, or in the process of being reimbursed for some of those costs associated with that. And then finally, as a follow-up to the issue that was raised by Mrs. Blevins at the last council meeting, I wanted to inform everyone that we've worked with the owner of Surefine Property to get permission to install a stop sign and pavement markings to assist with traffic calming in the parking lot. Some of you may have seen that's already started. Additionally, we have ordered speed cushions that will be installed that should help with slowing traffic utilizing Girl Scout Lane as a cut-through. And I'd like to publicly thank the owners of the property and their property manager for agreeing to reimburse the village for the cost of those speed cushions. So that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Tax Administrator, Ms. Helms.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the July 2024 tax office receipts. Tax collections for July were $588,647. July of 2024 is down a little over 11%, or $73,753 from July of 2023. Refunds for July were $108.67. Delinquent tax collected with capital recovery was $1,244. Delinquent tax collected with the Ohio Attorney General's office was $23,297. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to Tim, to your report real quick. I love the new signs that are on most of the busier intersections. I'm hoping people notice them, because if not, hopefully the police will notice that they didn't see it. So. All right, we'll move to reports of standing committees. Finance, Mr. Morton.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee meeting scheduled for next week has been canceled due to no agenda topics warranting a meeting at this time, but the next Finance Committee meeting is set for September 18th at 6 p.m. in the lower level of City Hall. I also want to thank those who attended the August Community Connect at Ross Park. We fortunately dodged the rain and had great discussions about supporting the collaboration of local businesses, parking laws, a recommendation to have a mental health specialist in our police department, and trash can placement. Each of these concerns and recommendations have been forwarded to the chairs of their related committees to be addressed. Folks also brought up a concern for pedestrian safety and accessibility around the village. And to address this, I've taken the first steps in organizing a pedestrian safety and accessibility audit. If you would like to help make our streets and sidewalks safer and more accessible, I am looking for volunteers to go block by block to mark down opportunities. I encourage volunteers to not worry about a huge time commitment towards this audit. I can tailor the audit to however much time that you can give. The next Community Connect has been rescheduled so that we can host it at our local library branch and accommodate to their open hours. All of those who live and work in the village are encouraged to attend at the St. Bernard Library on September 4th from 6 to 7 p.m. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Service, Mr. Stuchel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the totals for garbage recycling for the first half of 2024 from January to July. 37 30-yard dumpsters totaling 1,110 yards of garbage, 11 30-yard yard waste dumpsters totaling 330 yards of yard waste, 174.32 tons of recycling material has been collected, 274 trips were made by our garbage trucks to the Rumpke landfill, totaling 1,250.06 tons of garbage taken to the landfill. I'd also like to thank Don Middendorf and all the service department employees for their efforts with the setup and teardown of the German luau this past weekend. The event would not have been as successful if it were not for their help. Thank you.
Thank you. Public improvements, Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. President. There was no need for a Public Improvement Committee meeting, but I would like to comment on our last council meeting when Ms. Rebecca Blevins spoke on the dangers of cars not fully stopping at our stop signs. I've noticed this occurring at multiple intersections myself. Peggy commented on the possibility of having one officer focused on the problem. I thought of Norwood's Police Auxiliary. I reached out to Norwood this past week and was put in contact with Lieutenant Bud Rich. He's the head of their program. I was disappointed to find out the auxiliary cannot write tickets for moving violations, but was told of other duties that could free up our officers for more important duties. Some auxiliary duties in Norwood are traffic controlled events, security at sporting events, security at our parks. They become RCIC certified to run license plates, investigate parking complaints and write parking tickets. They do prisoner transport. They block streets for accidents. If our village is to ever implement this program, I believe it could start with just one part-time officer with police experience. Lieutenant Rich is full-time and does have other duties. He handles the evidence room. He handles fleet maintenance on their police vehicles. And this is just information for our administration and council to use if this type of program was ever considered. And I'd like to thank Lieutenant Rich for generously giving me his time. Thank you, Mr. President. This concludes my report.
Thank you. Safety, Ms. Hausfeld.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Laws, contracts, and claims, Mr. Schultmeyer.
Thanks, Mr. President. I think we reported out on the last meeting for laws, contracts, and claims in the previous council meeting. The next meeting is set, as Valerie said, for August 20th, 7 p.m. in council chambers. Right now on the agenda is short and long-term rentals, which Valerie also mentioned. I think we
declined to take up anything new on the noise ordinance, so we've taken that off the agenda. And then, John, did you have another topic you wanted to add to the agenda? Or was it,
Mr.
or were we
President.
talking about the
The vacant properties.
vacant properties? Yeah, so we're gonna add that to the agenda. Thank you, I took poor notes. Also, I wanted to just thank the rec department, rec team. They did a great job. Following up the fireworks with the German luau was fantastic, as well as the service department folks. And then I wanted to just commend Tommy on his fastball that put me in the drink tank there for the first person, so I appreciate that. That was a great shot. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Business and industry, Mr. Estep.
No report, no meeting. Thank you to all three departments. The luau was a lot of fun. Saw a lot of people I haven't seen, and you don't usually see unless there's an event like that. Also, just real quick, get well soon, Ray Culberson. Concludes my report.
Thank you. This time, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council? If not, then I show the next council meeting at Thursday, August 22nd at 7 p.m. We will have an ordinance for the Hamilton County grant, appropriation ordinance for that such money, and the third reading of ordinances 19, 20, 21, and 22. This time, what is council's pleasure on the excuse of the absent member? Mr. Schulmeyer.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse the absent member.
Seconded.
A motion by Mr. Schulmeyer, second by Mr. Morton to excuse the absent member. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Mr. Morton?
I'd like to motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion by Mr. Morton, second by Mr. Estep to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.